Chairman of Maruti Suzuki, Mr. R.C. Bhargava. Mr. Bhargava, always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you very much for joining us here on CNBC TV18. My first question to you this evening, sir, is not as the chairman of Maruti Suzuki, but really as a citizen of the city of Delhi. Because every time around this time of the year, we seem to wake up, we seem to realize the nature of pollution in the city, but yet we fail to come up with the answers. As somebody who's had a ringside view of industry, has a ringside view of the government, what are our failings, Mr. Bhargava?
See, as a citizen now, it appears to me that we are totally dependent on the weather for the level of pollution which we have in the city. Whereas this problem has been there for years. And again, I don't think many people know in Delhi what are the largest sources which contribute to the PM 2.5 pollution in Delhi. I think we know it's all dust particles of various kinds which form the PM 2.5 pollution. But what contributes to them? Which is source number one in terms of quantity, which is source number two, which is three, which is four, which is five? And the plans which we hear from the Delhi administration for tackling pollution, are they tackling the main pollutant sources or are they tackling some minor sources of pollution? Because the results show that nothing happens as a result of all this. So I would suggest, Ranjay, that whether it's the Delhi administration or Delhi administration backed by the Ministry of Environment, that firstly, the citizens of Delhi should know in order of contribution which are the main sources of pollution in Delhi. And whether it's roadside dust, whether it is burning of solid waste, whether it is industry, whether it is trucks, whether it is cars, whether it's three-wheelers, or whether it's some other source, they should be identified in order of their importance in pollution. That's not done.
No, indeed, Mr. Bhargava, and this is indeed a multifaceted problem. But let's go to the announcement the government has made today of availability of BS6 fuels across the country. Because curiously now, what this means is that we'll have BS4 cars, in Delhi, but they'll now have to be paired with BS6 fuel. Will this really make any difference from a larger environmental standpoint?
It will make a slight difference, nothing which you will feel in terms of reduced pollution. Because as I see things are going, for a long time we seem to be dependent only on the weather. Because the administration has failed to do anything worthwhile in terms of controlling the main sources of pollution.
No, but let's dig a little deeper into this, Mr. Bhargava, because we know when it comes from, for cars moving from BS4 engines to BS6, PM 2.5 levels can come down by over 80%. But now with BS6, fuel, but BS4 engines, do you know, can you give us some estimates of whether this will have any impact at all or not?
My understanding is that this will have very little impact on petrol cars. But on diesel cars, use of BS6 fuel will result in much lower sulfur emission. And so the pollution arising from sulfur will reduce. But that in any case is not significant today. Today we are concerned about PM 2.5, not sulfur.
I understand materially it will not make any difference because BS4 cars can still ply on BS6 fuel. But, but as an industry, are you relieved? Because industry, you've been asking the government, asking OMCs to ensure BS6 fuel is available across the country. So this clearly seems to be a commitment and a step towards that direction.
We are glad that the oil industry has started the introduction of BS6 fuel. Because for us, it is critically important that by the time in April 2020, we introduce the BS6 cars as is mandated by the government, there must be BS6 fuel available in all pumps all over the country. Because a BS6 car cannot run on BS4 fuel. It'll poison the catalysts and the car systems for reducing pollution. and the car will not function as a BS6 car at all. And a BS4 car can, of course, run on a BS6 thing. So if they started the process in Delhi, we hope that they have a plan, well-planned program by which the BS6 fuel will be supplied to all cities and all petrol pumps well before the end of March 31, 2020, because otherwise there'll be a huge crisis in the car industry all over.
No, indeed, and that's a fair point. But, but we've seen in the past, when it came to BS4 also, Delhi and the top cities had BS4, but rest of the country was still a BS3. So if at all the government thinks of dual norms once again, that looks unlikely, but if they do at all look at dual norms because of the inability to sort of supply BS6 fuel across the country, that would be rather chaotic, wouldn't it be?
No, that the government has ruled out. The introduction of BS6 is all over the country for all the vehicles. There's no exemptions for anybody now.
Fair enough. But in conclusion, Mr. Bhargava, a question that many are wondering, that have risks for automakers really increased today, because auto industry is at the forefront of this pollution war? While we may quibble over the statistics, the fact of the matter is, in people's mind, auto industry is one of the key pollutants, so to speak. So have the cost of business, the risks to business gone up in the recent past?
It's not only the government, but all authorities which are concerned with the reduction of environmental degradation in Delhi, I think are not basing all their decisions on objective analysis of the scientifically collected data. And that applies, I think, to some extent to the judiciary, it applies to the Green Tribunal, it applies to others. I think there's the Ministry of Environment, they should objectively analyze data which is scientifically collected and make this known so that everybody can use this data in future decision making.
All right, Mr. Bhargava, appreciate you joining us with your thoughts on that big story today. That was the chairman of the country's largest car maker saying that the government and all stakeholders really need to take a larger and a more holistic view.